Welcome everyone. The topic for the day is developing emotionally intelligent organization. So exactly what is EI, what is IQ and how an organization can be receptive to the benefits of being an emotional intelligence organization is what we will be discussing in today's presentation. What would you rather work for? Let me put forward a straightforward questions to all of you. I'm sure most of you would be understanding the relevance of this particular question. Yes, I'm not talking about gender. I'm not talking about EI or IQ or uh, EQ dilemma about there. It is what would you rather work for that needs to be answered in a pertinent fashion. Number one, basically, I believe so is skills and knowledge. Definitely, probably, yes, it is that what we are looking at it. Necessary for the top performances. I would love to work for an organization or position where I can exploit my skill, I can enhance my knowledge, I can actually contribute something to the overall effectiveness of the organization and the society per se. So yes, what is the characteristics of long-term success? It is the social role, it is the value, it is the self-image, the motive and the vision that we all ascribe to. We all would love to have a definitive social image, a definitive self value, a definitive role pertinence and relevance of motive and vision is what we are always going for. Yes, emotional intelligent organization, as far as Daniel Goleman says, and I am quoting this gentleman called Daniel, which I find very pertinent and very relevant in this presentation, is the capacity for recognizing our own feelings. Remember, I'm talking about your feeling that you are supposed to explore and understand. The capacity for recognizing our own feeling and that those of the others, for motivating ourselves and for managing emotion well, not only in ourselves but also in the relationship. So it is the basic understanding as to what we are looking forward to. It is the basic fact that yes, we all ascribe to a certain aspects in building relationship and forming bonds. So let us think, let us feel, and let us act upon it as we think and as we feel. We both combining together, and probably the behavior that we portray or the action that portrays about our thought and our feeling is how we call about an act. So what is think is your cognitive development. It is the process which you process the information and things like that. What you feel is something which is all about emotional development, as in how passionate about it, about a particular issue that causes you, and definitely based upon it you will be reacting uh, or probably enacting behavioral consequences thereby. So think, feel, and act. Both thinking and feeling, thinking done by brain, feeling done by heart, as usually people perceive to be. An act is something where we speak it out, we word it out, the content or the body language shows as the behavioral part is all concerned about it. Remember, it is from the thinking and emotions comes action, and believe me, these thinking, emotion, and action have already established the fact. But what gives me the result is your action. Your action would always generate a reaction or probably an outcome altogether, which may be favorable, which might not be favorable, as the case might be all about it. So, yes, with what we think and what we feel and how it translates into the actions is how the results will be perceived as. Remember, I am showing an iceberg issue wherein I'm categorically mentioning the submerged. Approximately 90% of the iceberg is always submerged from the water level is what is emotional quotient, and only the 10% is IQ or intelligent quotient is all about you. IQ does not and cannot predict success. I repeat the statement again and again for your understanding. IQ does not and cannot predict success, whereas EQ is 27% to 45%, almost from one third to almost a half the times, depending in the field you will, EQ will ensure success. IQ reaches a plateau in puberty. EQ can be developed until 60. So we keep on improvising on our emotional quotient. Whereas IQ, whatever we have attained by the time we are 15, 16, 17, 18, IQ cannot will remain more or less the stable thing. So EQ is something which can be developed. EQ is philosophically egalitarian, as the case might be talking around here. Yes, let me tell out why exactly is emotional quotient so important, so pertinent for emotional managing organization. Yes, we are talking about developing emotionally intelligent organization, as the case might be. Yes, this is how we determine the fact the leaders create around 70% of the successful climate. It is the way we carry ourselves, it is the way we feel for an employee, it is the way we signify what is required and what is important, what is prioritizing. You remember, you are not only a part of the team, at times you are the team. That is what needs to be understood. Climate at the top team is imperative for the whole organization. It is their ethos, it is their thought process which will determine the culture of an organization. Climate indicates potential. Climate influences employee motivations to provide discretionary decisions. This is what we are looking around here. Yes, we should be talking in terms of work. Work is all about people, all about interactions with people, emotions impact our focus, our ability to do work, to make a good decision and judgment. Remember, emotions are contagious, and that is what we need to understand every now and then. So, there are two factors of emotional. One is resonance, and the other one is dissonance. Resonance is where we actually get almost similar kind of vibrations or feelings or things like that. Resonance is when there is a unison, when a leader is attuned to the feeling of their staff, can move them towards achieving a positive emotional outcome, because they know what is triggering, what kind of responses, what emotions are triggering in the followers, in the staff, as to what the responses would be. So here is what is resonance is all about. It resonance is all about positivism, whereas dissonance is all about negativism, when there are no identifiable issues accurately at all. So when a leader fails to empathize, fails to identify himself or herself or read the emotions of the group particularly, this result a collective distress. This is what I say, a negative energy, and then becomes a preoccupation, displacing the attention needed to be given to the leader's message. Yes, this is what we are striving to go forward towards it. We should always be empathetic, and we should be always have a higher emotional quotient. At least if the leader can identify, can read the people's thought and processes, and therefore manipulate it or curate his or her behavior towards the attainment of the organizational goals, definitely it will be achieved. But in case if there are no disconnect, if the leaders fails to identify himself as a part of the group, probably that is where the dissonance impact comes around it, and probably we are then shying away from the organization goals, and almost indicating or involving ourselves with unproductive activities of the organization. So let me tell you why exactly is emotional intelligence so important to intelligent organization. Remember, this is what the topic says around it. I would love to emphasize that intelligent organization, no matter how complex or adaptive system they are, let me tell it to you, the landscape and the adaptive capacity. The landscape is exactly what has been happening around it. It's a vast network of government or dynamic issues that I would like to bring in forward. The governments are so many. It can be the central government called federal government, can be provincial government called state government, it can be regional government, it can be local government called municipal government. We have then by a lot many entities there, by private NGOs, community entities, group with their own organization cultures, value, norms, and decision making process and policies. Remember, this is what the landscape is all about. What is a factual reality as of now? We need to understand this time and again all by ourselves. Two-dimensional aspects of the work is the blue sky and the crisis. There is a constant interplay between them. The blue sky is the newer field that comes around it, and the crisis that comes and goes. So this is what we call as probably so many characteristics or features, and I have not only spoken about politics in between. Now this is the landscape and where we operate as an organization, as an individual. This is the landscape, this is the hard realities of life, modern day life. Now let us understand the adaptive capacity. Remember, we are talking about prerequisite to be the most resilience model, having an immunity, having a thick skin, ensuring innovations, creativity, and improvisation. As the landscape changes, can you change your colors also? Can you take the shape and the form as has been determined? Enable smooth transition from the blue sky to the crisis dimension. Enhance critical decision making under stress condition and system thinking. This is what we are looking forward to it. Enhance swarm intelligence, and this is what I call is crowd intelligence. The modern word would be crowd intelligence or crowdfunding if you have come across with it, but I would love that swarm intelligence word because it is not been sourced from one particular sources. It is been captured as on when on basis from a multiple locations altogether. So we need to be adaptive to the landscape that keeps on changing on itself. Let us understand the complex adaptive system. Remember, in an emergency management deals with risk, deals with people, deals with system, and that too under something called time constraint. Or should I use the word stress? That is what we are looking around it. There are critical events at the setting of the intense human dramas and a few of emotions. Victims are vulnerable. They are very much upset. They express their distress to the responders, and emotional management practitioner or who also experience their own emotional turmoil. That is what we are looking for, what we are probably anticipating. Tension might emerge from emotional management system teams together, interacting with one another, and they might be at a loggerheads altogether. They have their own interest that needs to be saved and safeguarded. That is what us specialities and ineffective process is all about. There are constantly shifting priorities, new technology to integrate, all of which further contribute to the emotional overload. Let me talk to you about the traditional security models dealing with hazards and threats, favored tactical decision making, having a tendency for more hierarchical organizational structures, chain of command, rely on securitization, scientific management theory driven, rational thinking prefer to the emotional adaptive approaches. It is what we call the hyper vigilance. It's an era where you are always under focus. It's an era where you can never leave, or in fact, all your footprints, all your footmarks will always be imprinted for time immemorial. Nowadays, we work with ourselves with switched on and with an internet-enabled devices, and therefore it tells us, it tracks us, it moves, it can identify my personality, it can identify my need, the requirement. A proper description of the personal footprints can never be erased altogether in the modern day life, and that is what a security model says. So yes, yes, what are these are the pesky challenging millennials. You have it. People nowadays are bit finicky, they are bit pushy, if I may say so. They are of prime importance, giving importance to themselves rather than think anything else. Their priority is that they are existing on this particular planet only once in a lifetime, and within that lifetime they have to make themselves the most amount of whatever aspiration that they're looking into it. So yes, I repeat, people are getting fragile. Emotional intelligence organizations, it first and foremost thing is to know yourself. Remember, why do you behave in a particular fashion? Because it is the stimulus from the environment which triggers your emotionals, and then your understanding is what we call it a filter. based on your understanding, based on your filter that you go, you interpret, and comes out your behavior. The range, as is what we go to see what Daniel Goldman has been saying, deliberately, and I love this talk, I love this statement, all by ourselves. And exactly this is what millennials, or probably you and me, are going through. The range of what we think to do is limited by what we fail to notice. Remember what we fail to notice. Because what we fail to notice, that we fail to notice that there is little we can do to change until we notice how failing to notice it helps our thoughts and deeds. It is as if the statement says, in today everybody is in a race, and in case if you decide that you opt out for a race and stand still, believe me or not, you are not standing still. In fact, you are getting pushed backward, because people who were behind you are still continuing with the race, and they are moving, they are crossing you and moving out of you, ahead of you. And that is what emotional intelligence is all about. It, I repeat, the range of what we think and do is limited by what we fail to notice. And because for the fact that we fail to notice, there's a little we can do to change until we notice how failing to notice helps our thoughts and deeds. That is what we are looking forward towards it. Yes, self-awareness is what the most important person you will ever talk is to yourself. As what we always say, so you yourself must be the most intelligent fellow everywhere, done there, done now. So this is what self-stand time and again, as we go around here. So, emotional intelligence is to know others, the ability to manage ourselves, the relations effectively. This is the quadrant that I would love to talk about it. It is all about self and it is all about society. Your awareness and your management, society's awareness and society's management. And this is what they encapsulate the emotional intelligence competencies. They are not innate talents. Remember, they are absolutely not an innate talent or an isolated talent, but a learned abilities. And each area has a unique contribution to the impact and effectiveness thereby. That is what we are talking around it time and again. Let us understand emotional intelligence models thereby. Self-awareness is all about emotional self-awareness, accurate self-assessment and self-confidence that we talk around it. We should be talking every now and then. The social awareness, on the other hand, is the concern for people as to understand their thought process, feelings, and appreciate the situation in which they are striving or surviving for. It is the organizational awareness, the service orientations, and so on. Emotional management is emotional self control, transparency, adaptability, achievement orientation, initiativeness, and optimism. Yes, we are talking about emotional self control. We are talking everything that can be done within the capacity of one individual. It is about you being transparent, you being adaptable, you being achievement oriented, initiative, and optimistic. Let us, can we marry these two of self and society, about your self awareness, about your self management, and with the social awareness? There comes the relationship management. There forms that's this is the key of forming a bond with other persons. Inspirational leadership, leading from the front, or catalyst, the change catalyst, influences, conflict management, and so on and so forth. Let us understand teamwork and collaboration thereby. Remember, we are talking about stress, tolerance, impulse, and control. These are the top five public service emotional. First and foremost is everybody works under immense stress. Now that tolerance of individual are different, and that is the reason why you see people behaving abruptly at times. So we should aspire for, we should strive for optimism, flexibility, self-regard, and self-actualization. No wonder how many of us can achieve it is a different story altogether. So stress tolerance is high performance, and understand that they need to find a balance between the amount of time that they spend in stress, in sympathies, in ways that the amount they can go and recover it. It is what I call the sympathetic response, parasympathetic response that we are looking for it, which goes for high performance team members, apply the law of Pareto's principle, wherein 80% of the staff and 20% of the staff would be completely different. Remember, if you can contribute or control 20% of the time, 20% of the stuff, you are able to manipulate the 80% of the event. So 20% of the input of the time, resource, effort accounts for 80% of the output, as the case might be in terms of results or reward. It is the quality of time at work that counts, the quality of time at home that matters. Balance is only optional. Balance is supposed to be taken care of if you apply yourself at least 20% of the time. That is your inputs, and it will take care of 80% of the results or output. Conflict and emotional quotient is holding an anger like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It is something which you should always vent it out, if not through a negative emotions but through a positive way. Do yoga, do stress management practices, do exercise yourself. Let the endocrine gland bleeds being excreted out of your body altogether. Let me revisit the sumo principle. Sumo principle state, it is not only shut up and move on. Absolutely not. It is where you actually criticize or appraise an issue on a scale of 10, and then probably how is it going to important, or how is it going to impact in a week's time, in a month's time, in a 6 months time, in a 1 year time. That will determine that is it enough for to you to fight it out. Is my responses appreciated, appropriate, or effective? How can I influence and improve the situation? What can I learn from this? What will I do differently next time, and how can I find that positivity in that particular situation? Yes, this is what we are all aspiring for. It's an issue which says now appraise yourself and appraise the situation right now, as of now, and how is it going to impact in a different time scale, be it a month, be it a quarter, be it half yearly, be it annually, be it in 5 years time, 10 years time. And then you will suddenly find how minuscule the issues were, and probably then tune down your responses. Managing conflict is ease of others for the equation. Open it up for questioning. Why did this particular thing happen? How was I involved? Why did I attract this to myself? And how can I grow from this? Remember, how can you find compassion for everyone involved into it? That is the exception that everybody follows up. Yes, managing conflict. Managing conflict is of prime importance. Look wherein a speedboat has crashed into other speedboat. Believe me, this particular speedboat might have destroyed, but so this particular speedboat has also become redundant in the long run. So it doesn't help others in erasing the other person. It also impacts you. Emotionally intelligent person will always have an emotional emergency management leadership. First and foremost, is it all about yourself? Start with yourself. Develop the better self-management strategies. Ensure to understand yourself. I am talking about the self-awareness quotient. Improve upon it. Then probably employ a recruitment process, employ like-minded people, because it is in the like-minded people will gel together and work in tandem as a team along with the necessary technical professional skills. This is what emotional quotient is all about. It training staff at all levels needs to be trained, needs to be ensure that they are doing on a level playing ground. How to manage their own emotion, how to handle people is what we are looking forward to. It emotionally intelligent organizations is supervisions in addition to the managing their own emotion. Supervisors at all levels in industrial and organizational landscape, the IO landscape that we are talking about. It remember, the landscaping wise, I have already said it is very dynamic. Things have been changing on a faster rate and a faster scale every now and then. Ongoing assessment, because exercise development and stimulations are key features in an industrial and organizational environment. Use those opportunities time and again. Use those knowledge, use those skills, use those technical expertise to decide upon or to go get past over conflicting issues, and emotional dimensions will take care of it. So that is what we are looking. So let me say, let me put it at the very fag end of the presentation and ask you a pertinent question. Are you an emotional leader? Are you a brand, and what brand is it? Are people perceive you as to be a resilient person, quiet person, analytical person, leading from the part, leading from the front? Can you handle difficult situation? Does it stimulate you, enthuse you, motivate you? You need to answer. How do you know? How do you appreciate yourself? And if you can answer this question, as wherein you can build a people, build a team, conquer a team, lead it from the front, and infuse trust among your employees, then I'm sure you are a wonderful, emotionally intelligent leader, which translate into something called developing emotional intelligent organizations, and that is what we aspire to be. I hope this particular presentation has been enriched by your things. Thank you for watching this video.